The Galactic Council Hall was full of tension as representatives from dozens of alien species sat around a massive circular table. Holographic displays hovered in the air, showing maps of the galaxy, military movements, and economic reports. But today, the meeting had taken a lighter tone. The council members had gathered to discuss new trade routes, but soon the conversation shifted to a more entertaining topic: humans. The aliens had always viewed humans as strange. To them, humanity was a race of unpredictable creatures, known mostly for their wars and violent history. Stories of human conflicts were common across the galaxy. The council members had heard countless tales of how humans fought each other for power, resources, and even honor. They didn't understand it. Why were humans so aggressive? To the peaceful alien species, humans seemed like a threat. But instead of fearing them, the council often ridiculed them. "Humans are nothing more than savages," said Crix, a tall, slim alien with blue skin and large yellow eyes. He was the representative from the planet Zelorn, known for their pacifist ways. Crix leaned back in his chair, smirking as he spoke. "All they care about is fighting. If we gave them the chance, they'd probably destroy half the galaxy in a day." Several other council members laughed at his remark. A few of them nodded in agreement, whispering among themselves. They had heard it all before: the stories of human wars, their powerful soldiers, and their obsession with conflict. Sitting quietly at the far end of the table were two human delegates, Clara and Marcus. Unlike the aliens, they didn't laugh or argue. They simply listened, their faces calm and unreadable. Clara, a medical specialist, adjusted her glasses and looked over at Marcus, a high-ranking diplomat. They both knew how the council viewed humans. The insults, the jokes, the constant mocking, it was something they had come to expect in these meetings. But today they remained silent. "Look at them," another council member chimed in, this time from the Tarvax species. A heavy-set alien with dark scales and sharp teeth, he pointed a clawed finger at the human representatives. "They sit there so quietly, probably planning their next war right now." More laughter erupted from the table. The humans were outnumbered, with representatives from over a dozen species looking at them as if they were a curiosity, not equals. But Clara and Marcus exchanged only a brief glance, their expressions still neutral. "I heard," Crix continued with a grin, "that humans even train their children for war. How barbaric. We teach our young ones peace and diplomacy, while they teach theirs to hold weapons." A few of the alien leaders snickered at the idea. To them, humans were no more than warmongers. They believed that if left unchecked, humans would bring chaos to the galaxy. But what the council didn't know was that there was much more to humanity than just war. The humans had come to the meeting prepared, but not for a fight. They had come with a message of peace and a willingness to help. But as the council continued to mock and dismiss them, the humans decided to hold back, waiting for the right moment. "Perhaps we should ban humans from joining our peacekeeping forces," Crix added with a smirk. "After all, their idea of peace is probably wiping out their enemies." This time, even the quieter council members laughed. Clara took a deep breath but remained silent. Marcus, however, leaned forward slightly. "We understand your concerns," he said in a calm voice. "But perhaps there's more to us than you realize." Crix raised an eyebrow, but before he could reply, an urgent message flashed on the holographic screen. The room fell silent as the words appeared: "Urgent. Unidentified plague spreading across multiple systems." The council's laughter stopped instantly. The mocking was over. Something far more dangerous had arrived, and soon they would learn just how wrong they were about humans. The council chamber was no longer filled with laughter. Instead, a heavy silence hung in the air as the holographic message of the spreading plague flashed over and over. The once smug and arrogant council members now stared at the screen, their faces pale with fear. The disease was spreading fast and no one knew where it had come from or how to stop it. In a matter of weeks, entire planets had been affected. Alien species from all corners of the galaxy were falling sick. The plague was unstoppable, moving faster than any medical team could respond. Hospitals were overwhelmed and more reports came in about mass deaths. Panic began to spread like wildfire. Crix, the Xylorn representative who had mocked the humans only hours ago, was now pacing nervously. His usual calm expression was replaced by one of deep worry. He had just received news that the plague had reached his home planet, and the first cases were already reported. The disease showed no mercy. It spread through the air, infecting anyone who came close. What are we going to do? One of the council members asked, her voice shaking. Our best scientists can't figure out what's causing this. Every treatment has failed. Other council members began speaking up, some shouting in panic. The council, which had always prided itself on unity and control, was now a mess of fear and confusion. We need to quarantine the affected planets, one member suggested. That won't stop it, another countered. It's too late. The disease is moving too fast. In the middle of the chaos, the two human representatives, Clara and Marcus, remained seated. They had been quiet ever since the outbreak was announced, observing the reactions of the council members. Clara, a skilled doctor, had already been monitoring the data coming in from different systems. Marcus, the diplomat, knew what was coming next. Finally, Crix turned towards the humans. His arrogance was gone, replaced by a look of desperation. You humans, you claim to have advanced medicine, don't you? He asked, his voice trembling. Can you help us? The rest of the council turned to look at Clara and Marcus, their mocking smiles from earlier now wiped clean. The aliens who had laughed at humans for being bloodthirsty were now hoping that these same humans could save them. Clara stood up slowly, adjusting her medical scanner. We've been studying the data since the first cases were reported, she said, her voice calm but serious. It's not like anything we've seen before, but we think we can help. Marcus nodded in agreement. We understand the severity of the situation. Humanity has faced similar crises in the past, and we've developed technologies and techniques that could be useful here. Crix, usually full of pride, swallowed hard. Please, he said quietly. We need your help. Our people are dying. We can't stop this on our own. Clara exchanged a glance with Marcus before replying. We'll send our best medical teams and researchers to help. But we need full cooperation from the council. No more divisions. If we're going to stop this, we need to work together. The council members, who had been so sure of their superiority before, now found themselves nodding in agreement. They had no other choice. Their best efforts had failed, and now they had to rely on the very species they had mocked. We'll give you everything you need, Crix said, his voice barely above a whisper. Just save us. Clara nodded. We'll do everything we can. With that, the humans prepared to mobilize their medical teams. Ships carrying doctors, scientists, and supplies were dispatched to the most affected planets. The once laughing Galactic Council now placed their hopes in the hands of the humans. As the humans left the council chamber to begin their work, one thing was clear. This was no longer about politics or pride. It was about survival, and the galaxy was about to learn just how powerful humanity's compassion could be. The sight of human ships landing on alien planets was something no one could have imagined just a few days ago. Now it was a reality. Massive medical vessels descended upon the infected worlds, bringing with them the best healers and doctors humanity had to offer. The very species that the Galactic Council once mocked for being bloodthirsty was now their only hope. On the ground, the situation was grim. The plague had spread to countless cities, and hospitals were overflowing with the sick and dying. Alien doctors and scientists had tried everything, but nothing worked. Their treatments failed, and their people were running out of time. Despair had taken over many of the species, and fear gripped the planets. But when the human medical teams arrived, everything changed. Clara, the lead human doctor, stepped out of the ship with her team, all dressed in advanced medical suits. They moved quickly, setting up mobile medical units and organizing supplies. The aliens watched them closely, unsure what to expect. Many still doubted that humans could help, but they had no other options. Start by isolating the most critical cases, Clara instructed her team through her communicator. We need to contain this before it spreads any further. The human doctors worked with incredible speed and precision. They began scanning the infected, analyzing the disease at a molecular level. Advanced technology, unseen by many of the alien species, was put to use. Clara and her team were methodical, but also compassionate. They spoke gently to the sick, offering comfort as they treated them. The alien doctors, who had once thought they knew best, were stunned by the humans' approach. One of them, a tall insect-like physician named Drac, approached Clara with hesitation. We didn't think humans could help in this way, Drac admitted, his antennae twitching nervously. Your species is known for war, not healing. Clara smiled slightly as she continued her work. Humans are complicated, she said simply. We've fought wars, yes, but we've also saved countless lives. Sometimes the strength to heal comes from understanding pain. Drac watched in silence as Clara administered a treatment to one of his patients. The alien child, weak and barely conscious, had been on the brink of death just hours before. But under Clara's care, the child's condition began to stabilize. It was a small miracle, and Drac couldn't believe his eyes. "How did you do that?" he asked, amazed. "We combined several techniques we've developed over the years," Clara explained. "It's not a cure yet, but it's a start. We can slow the progression of the disease while we work on finding a permanent solution." Word spread quickly across the planet. The human healers were not just helping, they were making real progress. Patients who had been given only hours to live were now improving, and hope began to return to the alien cities. The council members, who had been so proud and arrogant before, watched in awe as the humans worked tirelessly day and night to save lives. Marcus, the human diplomat, had stayed behind in the council chamber, updating the council members on the situation. As reports of the humans' success came in, the council's attitude shifted. Crix, who had once been so quick to mock the humans, now sat quietly, listening to the updates with a mixture of disbelief and gratitude. "They're really doing it," Crix said softly, almost to himself. "The humans are saving our people." The other council members nodded in agreement, their previous arrogance replaced by respect. It was becoming clear that humans were more than just warriors. They were healers, scientists, and most importantly, compassionate beings. As the days went on, the human medical teams continued their work. Slowly but surely, they were turning the tide against the plague. The galaxy, which had once feared and laughed at humans, now saw them in a completely different light. The humans had arrived as healers, and they were proving their worth with every life they saved. The human medical teams had made great progress, but the fight was far from over. Clara knew that while they were able to slow the disease, a permanent cure was still out of reach. They had only bought time, and the clock was ticking.
Every hour, more lives were lost, and the pressure was growing.
In the central lab aboard the human medical vessel, Clara stood in front of a large holographic display, reviewing the data they had gathered. Samples from every infected species had been collected, and the human scientists worked tirelessly, running tests, analyzing the pathogen, and searching for any weakness. "This pathogen is unlike anything we've ever seen," said Dr. Lawson, one of the lead human researchers. He tapped the screen, showing the virus's rapid mutation. "It adapts too quickly. Every time we think we're close, it changes again." Clara sighed, her eyes heavy from lack of sleep. "We're missing something," she muttered, pacing back and forth. "There has to be a common factor, something we can target." Dr. Lawson nodded. "But what?" Just then, Drac, the alien physician who had been working closely with Clara, entered the lab. His face was filled with worry but also determination. "I may have found something," he said, his voice filled with hope. Clara and Dr. Lawson turned towards him, intrigued. "What is it?" Clara asked. Drac pulled out a data pad, showing the results from one of the latest tests. "I've been studying the survivors," he explained. "Those who recovered after receiving your treatments. There's something unique about their immune response. It's as if the human treatment triggered something in their bodies that allowed them to fight off the virus." Clara's eyes widened. "Are you saying the cure could be within the survivors?" Drac nodded. "It's possible. I think their bodies are producing a natural antibody now, one that could stop the virus altogether." Dr. Lawson immediately began pulling up the survivors' data, comparing it to the earlier results. "If we can isolate this antibody," he said, excitement building in his voice, "we might be able to replicate it and create a universal cure." Clara felt a surge of hope. "We need to act fast," she said. "If the virus mutates again, we could lose our chance." The team quickly sprang into action. Samples from the survivors were taken, and the lab was filled with the sound of machinery as tests were run at lightning speed. Hours passed as the humans and alien doctors worked side by side, their eyes glued to the screens, analyzing every detail. The tension in the room was thick. This was their last hope. If they failed, the virus would continue to spread, and millions more would die. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Dr. Lawson looked up from his screen. "We've got it," he said, his voice filled with relief. "We've isolated the antibody. This could be the key." Clara rushed over to look at the data. There it was, the solution they had been searching for. "Prepare the synthesis," she ordered. "We need to mass-produce this cure and get it to the infected planets immediately." The lab erupted into a flurry of activity as the cure was synthesized. The human medical teams, who had been working tirelessly for days, now felt a renewed sense of purpose. They had found the answer, and now it was time to save the galaxy. Meanwhile, back in the council chamber, the news of the breakthrough spread quickly. Crix and the other council members, who had been anxiously waiting for updates, could hardly believe what they were hearing. "They've done it," Crix said, almost in disbelief. "The humans, they've found the cure." The council, once filled with doubt and arrogance, now looked at the humans with nothing but admiration and gratitude. The species they had once ridiculed had not only helped them, but had saved them from total extinction. Clara and her team wasted no time. The cure was distributed to every corner of the galaxy, reaching the planets where the plague had hit the hardest. As the cure took effect, the once dying populations began to recover. The galaxy was being saved, one life at a time. As the cure spread throughout the galaxy, hope blossomed like flowers after a long winter. The once empty hospitals began to fill with life again. Patients who had been on the brink of death were now sitting up, smiling, and thanking the healers. News of recovery brought tears of joy to families, and the sounds of laughter returned to the streets. In the heart of the Central Council chamber, council members gathered for an emergency meeting. The atmosphere was charged with excitement and gratitude. Crix stood at the front, his usual bravado replaced with genuine appreciation. He looked around the room, taking in the faces of his fellow council members, who had once dismissed humans so easily. "Today we stand at a turning point," Crix began, his voice steady. "We have witnessed the strength of humanity, not in their ability to fight, but in their capacity to heal." The council members nodded in agreement, their expressions reflecting the change in their hearts. Just weeks ago, they had laughed at humans for their so-called bloodthirst. But now, those very humans had saved their races from a terrible fate. Clara and her team worked day and night, Crix continued, acknowledging the humans who had come to their aid. They didn't just provide a cure, they showed us what it means to care for others, even those who once mocked them. At that moment, Clara and Marcus entered the chamber exhausted but triumphant. They had spent every waking hour helping the sick and ensuring the cure was administered correctly. Clara's hair was disheveled and dark circles rested under her eyes, but her smile shone brightly. "Thank you for your kind words," Clara said, looking at Crix and the other council members. "But this was a team effort. We couldn't have done it without all of you. Your cooperation made the difference." Marcus stepped forward, his voice calm but passionate. "In times of crisis, we saw beyond our differences. Together, we faced a common enemy, and together we triumphed. This is the power of unity." Crix took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. "We were wrong to underestimate you. We assumed humans were only warriors, but you have shown us that you are also great healers and allies." The council chamber was filled with a newfound respect for humanity. Council members began to speak, sharing their thoughts and feelings. Many admitted they had been blind to the true nature of humans. They had focused only on their warlike reputation and missed their capacity for compassion and care. "Let us not forget the lessons we have learned," said a representative from the Zethar race. "The next time we meet a species we don't understand, let's not make the same mistake. Let's approach with an open mind." The room buzzed with agreement, and Clara felt a surge of pride. The healing process wasn't just physical, it was also about mending relationships and building bridges between worlds. As the meeting continued, the council members began to discuss plans for future collaboration with humanity. They wanted to ensure that they were ready for any other threats that might come their way, and they recognized the value of working alongside humans. "We should establish a medical exchange program," suggested Drac. "Humans can teach us their healing techniques, and we can share our knowledge of alien biology. Together we can be stronger." Cheers erupted in the council chamber as the idea gained traction. The seeds of a new alliance were being planted, rooted in respect and understanding. As the meeting concluded, Clara felt a sense of hope for the future. The laughter that had once been replaced by fear was now echoing in the hallways again. She had seen firsthand how unity could change everything. In the days that followed, the galaxy began to heal not just from the plague, but from old prejudices and misunderstandings. The stories of humanity's bravery and compassion spread like wildfire. No longer were humans seen as mere warriors. They were recognized as allies, friends, and essential members of the galactic community. As the sun set over the council chamber, Clara and Marcus stood together, looking out over the vibrant city below. They had faced adversity and emerged stronger, together with the other races of the galaxy. Who would have thought? Marcus said, a smile playing on his lips. From being laughed at to being respected. Humanity really can change the galaxy. Clara nodded, her heart full. And we'll keep changing it, one life at a time. With a renewed sense of purpose, they turned back to the council chamber, ready to embrace the future and the new friendships they had forged. The galaxy was forever changed, and humanity had taken its rightful place among the stars.